Okay, Taurus, welcome in. This is going to be your spirituality reading for July and August of 2025. I just want to give a preface here. If you're wanting more lives or more readings from me, energy work, that kind of thing, I have a Facebook page I just started to open up here. If you want more readings and one-on-one action there, go into the Facebook page and join. That will be my indicator to go in and start something. If I don't get anybody joining or, what do you call that? Not liking, just joining or even liking, whatever. If I don't get any action in there, I'm not going to go in. So having said that, we're going to get into your reading here. As I was shuffling, a weird energy come out. We have the dragon cards for clarifier. Two of the cards wanted to come out, and they said take both. So you're the only one yet that has two dragon cards. So this will be interesting. Now, the first card that we have for you, Taurus, for the summer of July and August of 2025, the King of Fire, 14. Yeah. Large and in charge. This is what? So either this is past energy. This is an energy we may have taken on. And I'll tell you, the Taurus in a fire element, that's something to be held, right? To behold, like this kind of thing. It's something because it means we're fired up on all levels here. So in the past, we could have had something come into our life here that it energized us, creates a great passion. And we're going forward fiercely in this. And I feel like when we're the king, it's doing us good, this kind of thing. So that's the energy I'm feeling. It's good, past energy. That means we're really taking control, taking the reins of our life, going in a direction that we feel impassioned by, and we're making progress. So this is all good. Now, in the current position, what do we have for you, Taurus? We have 11, emotion and intellect. The emotion is the water, right? So that's 75% of this little pie graph they're showing me here. And then there's the wood, which is the intellect, which is the grounded thought. We need to do on the physical earth this because it's a logic, right? And Taurus may be battling with that. There may be a lot of emotions coming forth here, and it may be drowning out our ability to make a logical decision. That's what they said. Our emotions are drowning our ability to make a rational decision. I'll leave it there. Yeah, usually that's something that, when this card comes out, it's like we're overly emotional about things that we're not seeing straight. And sometimes we can make mistakes. I say come from the heart. But if we are over emotionally energized, that's an imbalance. And if we go off in that direction, we can make mistakes, whether it's from heart or not. So this is the sense here is that we're battling with that at this time. This is current energy. So as we move into the future here, what do we get? Ooh, 2 of Cups, 2 of water. So there's something about a lover here that is overpowering our energy. Give me a moment, because this card always comes when there's intimate moments. Great, wonderful. It's a good vibe card. It means that we're very close, very intimate, not only on the physical level, but in the mind, where we're wanting to know everything about this person and whatnot. But again, there's upheaval in the emotional side here. So let's see. They're showing me the whole road. We got the King of Fire, the emotion and the intellect, and then the lovers. Are we getting fired up overly so, and then having to forgive ourselves for that? Because there's a sense that we may not need to balance our emotional side somewhat here. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Now we'll get into the second level here. As we go on that King of Fire, again, feeling in charge and ready to go and ready to flow. This emotion card, it kind of seeps, the energy seeps into that. So we may be making decisions, overly emotional ones with great passion, okay? Wherever that leads us. So on top of the King of Fire here, what's the The Isis card we get is the Knot of Isis. Energetic stabilization with the buckle of the beloved. It's funny because they'll shoot down a certain energy in the readings when I start, and they go, yeah, same energy as we had in the last reading. And it's basically, your life can go with the flow, but, all along the way, there's knots in the cord. So these knots are trouble points, and we can either untie them and straighten them out, iron them out, as they say, or we can continue with a whole bunch of knots in our line here. And that's what I'm getting, the energy they're sending me for this session. For some reason, when we get fired up, there's an emotional imbalance that happens. And it directly correlates with our companion here somehow. And I'm not getting a good or bad. I feel like it's just we go in waves of emotion and then we calm down. And then we get burned up and fire and then we calm down. That kind of thing. So there's a need to balance that is the sense that I'm getting. And also it does create crux points in the flow of what we want here. I don't know if we're really overly worried about a partner or overly worried about our life in general going smoothly. But something here we're focusing on, it may be both. Something here we're focusing on that we can't seem to keep our emotional balance in check. And that's creating upheaval. And these upheavals, we want to stop them, but we're unable to control our emotions. This is the problem. Usually that stems from not being open and honest with people around you. Because, like if you're going to work and somebody's doing something that irritates you, you go up to the desk, you tapping that pen really gives me anxiety. Can you just not do that or be aware when I'm in the room not to do that? Because it makes me agitated and then I'll take it out in every direction, And then the person goes, oh, sorry, I didn't realize, I was just whatever. They're going like, can you shake your leg or do something else? It's the sound that drives me nuts. Again, communication is key. And then that person will try to do that. If they're a good person, they'll try and do that. They'll go, yeah, I'll shake my leg instead of, my pen, I'll put it in my, whatever, pen case. And I won't do that. They try to appease you, right? So are we having problems communicating these kind of things to a partner? Could be. And because of this is why we erupt. So they're going to prevent these eruptions. We need to expose ourselves sooner, expose our shortcomings sooner is what they gave me here. So as we move on to the second card, the emotion, the intellect, the emotion is out of balance and we can't seem to foresee this. Can't seem to. But there's a lack of communication that they're telling me is key here. So if we just communicate what we feel to the partner before we get escalated, this could do a lot of good here. So on top of that, emotion and intellect, the Isis card we get is soul retrieval, deep soul healing with the goddess. Okay. So soul retrieval is when you get some of your parts back. And this could happen naturally, spiritually. It could happen with your intention. Like, I'm not going to let that episode that I had rule my life, so I'm going to take back my energy. You could do that on your own, just from your mental mindscape. Or we could literally be going in and getting energy work done and retrieving parts of ourselves energetically. And they're expanding on that energy. So we might be open to that or have done that or are in a phase where we've done it and we're seeing results of it. May not understand. We may not be able to translate. So here we go. We end up at this reading, right? Because this is the translation factor. And sometimes when people go in and get energy work done, they don't realize they hear good things from other people. But it really does force psychological sides of you to expand. And you kind of don't understand that until you go through it. And it's almost like, if you go in and you get like a massage, right? You come home, you're sore, and the next day you're sore, and the next day you're sore, and then it eases off, right? Because it's like those muscles needed to be worked, and there's a sense of the echo, like I call it an echo, but like the muscles the way they were. And then after being worked, they changed. They got more blood flow. They got more, then they're alive, right? They start moving. The cells react differently because they were stagnant or whatever. And then there's the after. The after effect is, we've stimulated those cells in the blood and the muscles, and we've moved things to get action going. So then there's a new energy field there for those muscles to do new things. Now, you may be someone who got a massage or something. And again, those can open spiritual pathways. But, people don't want to give it credit. But, any little thing, chiropractic especially, muscle stimulation, all these things, they open up energy centers that are kind of can be locked down. So there's a sense of this, or opening a field in that way somehow. On the physical level, you've done something to yourself, or a masseuse has come, or a chiropractor, or something like that, and that is creating a field to erupt certain emotions, okay? And it is because of that physical adjustment. Now, whether it was chiropractic, muscle massage techniques, what have you, you will know. You will go, oh, yeah, I got this done because of that. And they're like, yep, because of that. It's opening energy centers. I don't know if it would happen at any other time on Earth but because of the frequencies, it allows this. It opened up things in the past, but we just didn't see them as much. We didn't take note of them. We didn't give them credit at that time. Now we're more open to give credit to where it is actually coming from. And there's an energetic opening that is bringing in a certain part of you that is imbalanced, and that it may be why we have emotional eruptions. And again, you need to feel your emotions in order to release them. If we don't allow ourselves to feel them, we cannot heal past them. We will continue to be stuck in, they're showing me a skipping record. It's just like, it doesn't get past that point. It doesn't get to the crescendo of the song, and they want you to hit that crescendo. So soul retrieval, that's good. There's something here we did for our physical self that is creating a spiritual reorganization. And because of this is creating eruptions in our emotional self. So this is an oddity. It for a Taurus, they can be emotional when they want to be, but they can also be very resistant and stubborn to not feel. So this would create a big impasse here if we had this. But I feel like we are learning to release emotions, and I feel like we are past the point. We're just kind of in daze mode because we don't understand why we're so emotional. You're so emotional because you are spiritually advancing. You're physically advancing. This is all going to affect you in an emotional way. Some people don't correlate. I'm telling you, this is why. So now that we make sense of it, we can continue forward and not let it stop our healing. Because it's almost like, well, I don't know why I'm crying, or I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but I'm feeling. Just allow it. Just allow the process to happen. And, some people may have to isolate themselves because they feel mad, but they have to feel the emotions. Don't know how important that is. It's very important because we don't want a skipping record. We want to hear the whole song. And this Taurus, they're skipping. And they need to release the emotions in order to get off that skip and start playing the song again. Okay? Whew, that was very detailed. Okay, so as we move into the future, great and groovy energy. This is always about being canoodling with a partner and being very intimate. And I'm saying intimate, but in a mental kind of way, where I know you, you know me, and we know everything about each other. And let's expose more like just flowing, of a good flow within a partnership. On top of that, the Isis card is power, over 7 scorpions to conjure lower vibrational forces. Okay. Taurus. Taurus is like bull. They go forward, they charge forward. It may be slow, but they will charge, and they will go through things that other people don't even, have a hard time getting through. They will charge through. Now, The power over 7 scorpions. We have a child here that is creating a field. They're mad. They didn't get their toy, whatever. I don't know what's the deal. But this child is clearly mad. And that madness, there's I don't know if that's Isis herself, but there's an angelic self right behind them going, be careful how mad we get in our head, because we can create scenarios and send out powerful energy fields in this way that are very destructive. Yeah. Again, there's a great power to understand this at this time. Now, it's interesting that it comes upon our Lover card. So it kind of taints that energy. And it suggests to me that we have a lot of healing here, or we have a lot of repressive thoughts that we are holding back having to do with our partner. And we have to expose them, good or bad, because again, there's a lot of shifting that can happen in relationships over this time. And I'm saying this time, this year. Oh yeah, we're shifting. There's no two ways. But the problem here is that we're holding back. Again, negative or positive, but this card is all about controlling our negative fields so that we don't create destruction. And the problem with this child, they're symbolizing a child because children will do things and not realize the consequences of their actions. And I'm getting a heavy sense here from above that this is a mental state. We are mentally sending out vengeance, evil eye, very bad energy, thinking that we're safe in doing so. We are not. This creates karma. This does create karma. Thought processes create karma. So if you didn't know that, now you know. Now you need to look at your scenario and what you're doing in your head. And you need to tone that down, because the karma itself may be the tears you are crying because you are feeling the result of the energy you are sending out. I gotta tell a story. I had a situation where when I was earlier on in my learning phases of all of this energy stuff, I didn't realize the power of my own self. And I didn't even think of the power of my own self. I kind of went in like a child and just did stuff, and you learn as you go. And I was given rein to do that. And what the hell was it? Yeah, it was a scenario where I can't remember the exact scenario because it was a while back, but basically what happened was I was sending out negative energy in my head for something I had come across I didn't know how to deal with. It was an attack against me, and I knew better than to react in a physical way, or even to react at that person and say something. But in my head, I went nuts. And I was taking it out all in visions against that person, blah, 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 blah. And because I misinterpreted that scenario, okay, it was my ego speaking. Because I misinterpreted that, what the universe did, and I didn't know this at the time, but they blocked all that energy that I was sending to go to a certain person in hatred. They blocked all that energy and sent it back to me. They mirrored it back to me. And I literally was sick. I had nausea. I had anxiety, the most high. it was awful. And I cried, and it was just like I was kind of a mental case. I just was curled up in a corner crying, and I was physically unwell, mentally unwell. I was unwell. And the next day, I went in, and I asked my guides, I said, what the heck happened there? Because it's almost like after a sleep, I was just kind of clear-headed, like that was something happened there. I don't know what happened. I couldn't process it. And they said, we reversed your energy back upon thyself. And I said, you what? And I had to sit there. And they said, not only did we misunderstand or misinterpret what was said, but we had a great vengeance and we have great power. Taurus, you have great power. to send things out through the brain. And just because you're not saying it or you're not physically going outward and exhibiting it, that energy goes. Now, I don't know if the universe is going to do the same to you in this way, or they have done, or this is what we're having a hard time dealing with. Could be. But we have to clean up our mental mindscape. And if we can't do this, this will create huge breaks in the future. Not only emotional breaks, physical breaks. Things that are, it can physically deplete us. It can mentally take us out. And that's a huge one right now. There's a lot of people mentally breaking because they just will not allow, and they will not allow to the degree that they just crack. There's a certain point here where we can't, I feel like the power over, again, we have power over this, but we just do not realize our own strength. And we don't realize it's actually going to get to the core of what we're after. Like, back in the day, like I think as a kid, mom grounded me, so I hate her. When you're a little kid and you send all that hatred, it goes there. It does things energetically. And we are growing and advancing, and this is part of that learning curve. We have to learn now to rectify our thoughts. That's why the communication is so important here, to talk to that partner or whoever it is. Because this power over the scorpions is that stinging, vengeance, vengeful thoughts that are going toward a partner. If we have this, we got to communicate that. We got to work through that. And if not, then we need to leave. There's something here is coming to a precipice. Now, they're saying we do have the power and we are guided highly. But again, are we going to let our ego, because there's ego and then there's vengeance and there's all these things that can come in the way of making the right decision. We have a lot. When this card comes, usually this will come for literally a Scorpio, right? It's got the word right on it, because Scorpios have great power of depth and they also have great power of sending. They receive and they can send stuff out in vengeance, and they do so on the physical plane, mental plane, emotional, all these planes that they can ship that energy out. So that, with great power comes great responsibility. There's more responsibility needed here. We need to clean up our mind so we're not going outward in vengeance. And this is creating problems. And this can be the emotional upheaval that is created, the anxiety. It can manifest as anxiety. It can manifest as literal pain. Nausea is a good one. That's very high on the scale. When they get into the nausea area, we're doing a lot of bad sending here when it comes into nausea. And again, we are powerful in this. So what we feel is not, is the most healthy way to handle it. They're going, no, it's not. Keeping it all in our head is driving us crazy. We have to feel all the, okay, so we're mad and we're angry at someone for whatever they did. We have to get into that emotion and cry. If it's hurt we're feeling, what's the undercurrent? Is it hurt? Is it disappointment? Whatever. Just feel that, and then slowly ease your way out, and you will find that steam valve will start to cool off. It's like I was saying I can't remember if it was the energy report. It's like we're just going to blow. In fact, we may have, and maybe that's a common thing that we're getting used to. And they're going, no, we don't get used to this. We iron it out. We go to the partner. We figure out what's the undercurrent here. We got to get to the root, so we're not exploding all the time. Okay, so lecture done. The Scorpions is a heavy energy, man, heavy, and the Taurus has no idea how powerful they are. They are very powerful. They create knots in the fabric of time. That's how powerful. That's the first time I've heard that. They're showing me that. Those knots, they can, time and space, they can knot it right up. That's how powerful. So be aware. Be aware. We're oblivious to this. Okay, third row as we get into the cat cards, they're a little lighter. The knot of Isis, again, we don't want to create knots in relationships. We don't want to create knots in energy flow. We want to, you may massage those knots out so everything's smooth. Okay, so on top of that card, the cat card we get is the Four of Swords. Oh man, yeah. That's the injured, right? And they're going, we're injured because we don't realize the power that we hold. And we certainly don't realize that our power is going outward in a destructive way. We don't realize this, but it is. And that mindscape, again, if we clean that up. And they're going, it's not that we shouldn't feel those feelings. We need to feel them in the comfort of our own self and quit projecting them outward. Because we got an object here. We're projecting negative, 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 negative. And it's creating physical problems. Like this person's got a broken ankle. Ankle is how you move forward. You can't move forward in this mindset. They will stop you. You have to get this figured out first. Okay. The Four Swords, it's also a card of needing to rest and relax. Well, if we're sending out that much negative energy, yes, we need to rest and we need to heal from what creates this vengeance going outward. Okay. On top of, that's our past energy. We have been in pain because of the bad thoughts we've sent out to others. So now are we learning? So as we go into soul retrieval mode, and that's different because that's going to bring certain parts of you back, and it may be your own induction into self-healing. You may be, learning how to heal thyself. And part of that is just, again, feeling. But something happened here, and I feel like it was someone upon us. We went to a practitioner, got something done, and that helped us. And it could be energetically, could be Reiki, could be massage, could be anything. There's a lot of things that will create an energy realignment, and it's in the medical field as well. Acupuncture, chiropractor, massage therapy. What do you call that? Not manicure, pedicure, but when they mess with the feet, pressure points. And that's another one. I'm losing all my words, where they poke needles and stuff. All that stuff. All that creates an energy. It opens energy centers, okay? So on top of the soul retrieval card, what do we get from the cat deck? The Six of Cups. Yeah. Wowzers. See, this is a very different take on the Six of Cups. And I love it because it shows us looking to our past and it being foreign. So what that tells me is that as our present moves forward, we are going to do things differently. Now, we've learned some bad lessons in the past, is the sense they're giving me. But nonetheless, there is a difference between where we came from and where we're going, and they're sitting on the suitcase. So at this time in your life, you may be, what's the word? Ruminating, sitting pensively. What am I going to do? How am I going to go forward? We have all the tools, we know. So if we choose to go in the bad way again, which I do see temptation for this in the future, I do. We'll see what that cat card tells us as to if we indulge or not. I'm getting like almost an Aries type energy because there's a lot of fire here in this Taurus reading. And I get that kind of a fired up energy. But nonetheless, we do know that where we came from, that is different from where we are. Are we going to, as we go in the future, make different decisions? Well, let's look into the future here. As we tap in, again, there's a lot of vengeance going to a partner, but yet there's a lot of intimacy. So I feel like there's a two-facedness here, or a holding back, at least, of a certain part of us. And again, that anger is going somewhere. It's being directed somewhere, and that energy is unfolding. In the future, the cat card is 8. Good. Because this is the taming of the, if you want, dragon. And again, we got 2 dragon cards, so this will be fun. This will be fun. The 8 is gaining the strength over that which could devour us, okay? And that's that vengeance. The power of the scorpions, it could eat us alive. But there's a sense here of taming the right things. So this is good. I'm going to leave it on that note because it's almost like we could go in either way. But there is something going on here having to do with healing, and whether it's the universe themselves bringing your parts back or whatnot, we do realize that we are moving and shifting into a higher frequency here, and we no longer will allow, from the above they're saying this, we will no longer allow this energy to go forth unprocessed, which means unbalanced, which means any energy you send out will come back at you in the same way. Now, let's get into the dragon cards and see what they have to say. The first dragon card, which was the extra one that came out, is the Sunshine Yellow Dragon with a little fawn. Helps you to help animals. So, serve animals, heal, respect, and understand them. I feel like either we need a lesson in this, or, animals can bring out that better side of us. I feel like that's the case. When we deal with animals, our true heart shows through, it shines through, and it trains us to utilize it. And then, after a while of using it with the animals, maybe it'll transfer to a human in that same way. Because some people I'd rather be out in the farm dealing with the horses than dealing with, people. Because they don't judge, they don't this, that, and the other. Okay? So animals could be a part of you that takes over. So that's the extra special part. And the yellow is about the joy. They could bring great joy to you, these animals. So allow that to open you up. And if you are stressed and whatever, just go. And it's amazing because animals, should I tell another story? They're going, go ahead. It was funny because I had my son, always my son, these stories come through him. He's a channel. But he just, he doesn't believe the same things I believe. And I allow that, I allow that. I'm respectful of that in him. I don't want to push him in any way, shape, or form, because I was pushed in certain areas of my life. And I didn't respect that because I was very resistant. Even if it was good for me, I was resistant. I just didn't, I wanted to do it on my own terms. So I allow my son to do the same. But he is gifted in this way, in the same way. Now, what had happened was, I have a cat, and my cat is getting along really great with my dad. And he's kind of one of those things, pet, like get away. But he's very much warmed up to her in a weird way. As you get older, you realize whatever. So my son come to me and he said, I had a dream about Nico. And I said, what was your dream? I'm always interested. And I analyze sometimes, but it was clear cut because he said, well, she was coming to visit me, and my cat loves tuna, and my dad feeds her tuna, right? That's the bond they have there. I'll reward you, and you just be nice, and everything's good. And of course, there's an independence in a cat that is kind of not like a dog jumping all over you. It's a little more soft and feminine. So anyway, yeah, he had said, I had the dream about the cat, and she was asking me for tuna. I said, she was speaking? He said, yeah, she spoke. She had a voice. I said, really? He said, yeah, it was British. I said, of course it was. Because she's such a little princess, right? I call her a princess, and, she's got it made in the shade kind of thing. So I was laughing. I said, that would make sense. And then I said, so what did she say? And he said, well, she come to me, and she asked for a can of tuna. And I said, I didn't have one. And she goes, check again. And then he said, Mom, I went in my back pocket, and there was a can of tuna in my back pocket. And I said, so did you feed her? And he said, yeah, I fed her. I said, and then what did she say? She said, oh, thank you so much. I love my tuna. And she just gobbled it up. And then she sat there and she says, I know you're my dad. And, me, Shawna, your mom, like that's how she views, you're my family. But who's that guy? You call him dad. She calls him, or you call him Papa. She calls him Dad. He's got to have a name. This is what this cat was saying in the dream. Okay. And Seth goes, yeah, he has a name. And she kept saying, well, what's his name? I don't know his name. I want to know his name. It's not Dad. I know that. And it's not Papa. I know that because you call him different names. There's something wrong. So And then Seth said, it's Jerry. And so I laughed and laughed because it felt like another dimension where my son can communicate with animals. Okay. You hearing me here? And they can, interact, right? On levels. And so the next day, I laughed about that. It was later that night, and the cat was, she sleeps in the shed. And so she was asleep. So the next day when coffee come around, she comes outside and I'm on my chair having a coffee. And she comes up on the chair and I pet her and I look at her and I go, you know that guy that walks around here and gives you tuna? I looked her straight in the eye. I said, his name's Jerry. That's his name. So if you need to know, that's what it is. And people call me crazy. I don't care. And she just looked at me and then she looked away and she's like, okay, and then I told her again the next day. I go, hey, there he is right there. That's Jerry. And then away she went. But to me, I know on a certain level, and I know my cat don't talk, but she tries to. In the morning, I'll go out and I'll say hello, and she'll go hello, like she'll try and speak the language, right? So there's something about animals here and getting through to animals that I'm feeling quite heavily. If they need to be the ones to get you out of that anger, let them be that. Because when you have an animal, that's a contract, and they are there to help you spiritually. And I got a contract with mine as well. I didn't want the contract, no more animals. And they came back about 3 years after I had gotten this cat, and they said to me, would you, now knowing what has happened with this animal, would you now forfeit that right to have that animal? Would you delete that contract? And I said, no, I wouldn't. Because there's, she's messing on the floor and stuff was going on. I was just like, you're out of here, But now she's got her own shed, so she can mess it up all she wants. There's heat in there and all that stuff. So she's got her own place. But, whatever. I think that's the wildness in them or whatever. But anyway, they got to mark territory for some reason. But anyway, there was a need to tell that story, and the sense that I get is because sometimes animals can be easier to talk to than humans. And if that can relieve some of that anger, bitterness, and allow you to release, like sometimes when you cry in front of a dog or an animal or a cat, they are there in compassion. They don't want you sad. And you can release in front of them if you can't release in front of any human. There's moments where you can let it go, and this may be within animals. Okay, so your second dragon card, as I go off wandering in the woods here. Silver dragon with the key to it all. Here we go. This illuminates your potential with higher light. Access untapped resources, look to your soul, and see higher possibilities. Yeah. I feel like again, everybody's advancing in their own right, and I feel like the Taurus is advancing and realizing the power of their mind that they didn't give credit. And unfortunately, there's thoughts going on in this mind that are not so great, and we have to rein in. And just because there's nobody, and I say this, but I don't truly mean it. It's like, just because there's nobody up there telling you, you have guides, you have spiritual helpers that hear all of that is said. Passed on loved ones, same thing. They hear all that shit. And do you really want them knowing that? No. I don't mean you to be paranoid about what you think, but you do have to rein in on the positive and the negative in that way. And if we're utilizing, I know, because I came from this place. Oh, my mental mindscape was so masked up with, because I would see something bad and then I would just focus on that bad, and then it would go and float around in my head for days. And it's like that stress and worry, it's focused on bad. What are we doing here? We got to focus on good. And well, if we can't think of anything good, we got to heal ourselves so we can get to that place of peace. And then we start transferring, it's a whole process. So the silver dragon is here to illuminate you to your potential with higher light. And I feel like we're slowly getting there. We're going to get there. Yeah, animals play a big part here. And like they're showing me someone crying and hugging an animal, and that is okay. That is okay. As long as you let that out, that's okay. And in fact, they have contracts to help you, and that energy flows. It advances their soul to be there for you, if you get my drift. Now, man, this is a deep one. This is a deep one. I didn't expect to go this deep with Taurus, but nonetheless, as we move into the second clarification card, which is the power of surrender, surrender to your passions. Yes, this is a great word for these series so far. There's a lot of passion here that is waiting to be ignited. Get out of your head. Period. And feel the fire in your belly. Focus on the people or activities that ignite your passion and let it flow. Yeah, instead of focusing on the negative. And it may be a partner here that we're having disagreements with, or, problems. And it's just, I feel like it's all in the head and it's all going back. And again, that energy goes somewhere. So we got to clean it up, so we're not shooting all that energy out, because we are very powerful. In fact, we may be so powerful that we're creating physical eruptions in our universe or our physical body and not realizing it. Telling you to realize that. We know where we came from in the past is different than we are now, and we have to just slowly work our way into making the right decisions. There's a lot of vengeance that's going to come in the future here, but I feel we have more than enough power to overcome that. And we just have to be mindful. And before you go to bed tonight, just say, I have the power to overcome it, and I will. And therefore, so be it, kind of thing. I have the power to overcome this vengeance, and I will. And that's that taming, and that's that last card, the taming of the dragon. Or I keep calling it a dragon, but it's the lion, right? It usually roars and it's but I feel like the lion is in you. And I think you need to tame your lion, and then everything else will simmer down. So wow, Taurus, that's your reading, your spiritual reading for the summer. July and August of 2025. Hopefully that helps you. It is a great crevasse we are expanding over. So just take your time, and that is in your element. We are out of our element and we're moving fast, but just take your time and things will become clearer. So take care, have fun, and be kind, and we will talk to you soon.